Hi, this is Tiffany Travels, where we help women and families travel, build wealth, and live richer. So today I'm really excited. We have a special guest, Jasmine, and she's going to talk to us about living in Germany with her family. Bring her here.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on your channel. I was honored when you asked.
Yeah, so we could start by you introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your YouTube channel and like what kind of videos people can find there.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Jazzy. I'm at the Jazzy Nation everywhere. I'm primarily on YouTube and my website. And I feel like I do it all, but primarily it's living abroad content, travel content, and right now motherhood. My content kind of mirrors the different seasons that I'm currently in. So right now, motherhood is what we're doing, and so that is present throughout the living abroad and travel content as well.
Great. So I have a bunch of questions because you spent
Mhm.
7 years abroad and I saw your
Yes.
channel. So it was India and then Ecuador and now Germany. So how did you pick those places and how did you begin your travel abroad? Like
Mm.
how did you come upon that?
Well, I'll say this too. We also lived in Morocco. That was our first country that we moved to.
Okay.
Um, and we moved to Morocco because my husband got a job with the Foreign Service. So I actually got married that same year. We got married very quickly, and then he started his job and started language training. And then I moved to DC to also start language training. And then a few months after that, we were shipped off in a
Okay.
way to Morocco. And yeah, that's really how our different journeys in all these countries began. My husband, he's with the Foreign Service, so he has a specific time frame for a tour, and so we're at a post for that specific time frame. And then once that contract, I guess, is up, then we move to the next location. So the first two tours, they're what's called directed. So we didn't get to choose Morocco or India. And then after that, we actually lived in DC for about a year for work as well. So he worked in Washington for about a year.
Mhm.
We did choose that. And then Ecuador was chosen by us. So we have usually there's a bid list and
Oh,
you're bidding for jobs and applying. It's like that, an application process in a way to just quite robust in that way. So you're lobbying for these different jobs, and my husband, had to interview for the jobs and see if he was, if the people receiving, seeing if he was a good fit, and if our family would also be a good fit and things like that. So Ecuador ended up working out really well, and then our tour in Ecuador was coming to an end, so we had to bid again, and Germany, along with a ton of other countries, was on our list. And although it might seem, you know, I mean, it is fun. Bidding can be fun, but I would say maybe from my husband's perspective, it's a lot less fun because you are applying for a new job every single time at this stage in his career. So there was a lot. There was a lot that went into that, and we're just very grateful, very blessed that he was able to get Germany because it was one of the top five on our list.
what were some other countries on your list to go to?
We had a couple of places in Latin America. We did have Colombia on the list. We wanted to kind of continue that route with Spanish and living within the region. And then we had Switzerland on the list and Austria on the list. Every time a bid list comes out, it's very unique. So a country that maybe you may dream about going to might not be on the list. It might, but oftentimes it's just whatever job is open, and so those were the types of jobs that were open, and along with Germany as well. So it was a lot of European type of jobs this time around, and so we've never really had these options before. So we're like, okay, let's, put Germany on the list. Let's put Austria on the list. We've never really even been in this region before. So we were kind of just taking a chance and hoping that it would work out well if we were to get these places. And so that's kind of how we feel now that we're here in Germany, not ever having traveled here before as well.
So does the employer assist with visa and also living accommodations, or is that up to
Mhm.
you? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So this job is interesting with living here in Germany because my husband is working with the military out here. But
Mhm.
with previous posts, he's worked with the embassy and consulates. Consulates are usually the um, smaller operation, but those are um, that's where people typically do visa work and things like that. So you have your consular section within usually the consulate. And so with us already being in these buildings, we go to the consular section and we're able to, put in our application and things like that. And then they help us push it forward, similarly to what it would look like with a civilian application as well. We just have closer access because we're just in the building. So we still have to wait and go through the long processes and things like that. But we do, when we are working with the embassies, we have usually two passports. We have our regular US passport, and then we have a diplomatic passport. And so we have here like a military style passport and then our regular style passport. And then the special passports are usually what the visas go inside, because oftentimes we are traveling for work or traveling while on duty, even if where we're going to is not necessarily for work. It's just a part of the orders, and that's how that usually works.
So do you both work for the government or foreign service, or is it just your husband?
Right now, it's just my husband. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. And then you're home with the kids and the
I
YouTube.
am.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So right now I work for myself and I'm a freelancer. So I work with other brands and usually I'll submit like UGC style content, things like that. And then I also have, paid products and things like that on my website. And then I also am a stay-at-home mom. So that's actually been something that I always wanted for myself when I first started this life abroad. In Morocco and in India, I worked with the US missions in those countries. And then, with COVID and everything, we moved to DC. That timing was just a little uncertain for everybody, including my husband. And so, finding work opportunities for me, especially for the short period of time that he was working in DC, was just not an option. So that's actually when I decided to really go full time. And that's really when I started to get paid opportunities and things like that for the work that I was doing online. And then we moved to Ecuador. I was pregnant, and I was just like, oh, let's just keep trucking along with YouTube and my own business and see where that can take me. And I would say it's been a blessing. It's also just been a blessing to be able to stay home with my child during this time because he's only little for so long and he's growing up so fast, and I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity and to have the opportunity to be with him until he goes to school.
Yeah, it is a blessing to be able to do that. So that's really nice. I
Mhm.
stayed home with my little one until she started school at
Mm.
3. And my
Oh, that's
mom,
nice.
yeah, my mom joined, and she wants to know with each
Hi.
location. Yes, hi, mom. With each location that you move to, your husband's job pays for the lodging. And then I had a follow up. Does
Mhm.
the job pay for the whole thing? It's 100% subsidized, or are you responsible for a portion?
Usually it's 100% subsidized. It's just a part of the package. And what's nice, it really just depends country to country. So for the past few tours. We had housing, we had furnishings,
Oh.
utilities were also paid for to an extent. Would pay for maybe internet and additional things like that, but the basic things were usually covered. Here in Germany, we're at a post that doesn't provide furnishings. And because we're with the military, it's all very different. So we had to look for our own apartment and bring our own furniture. We are still kind of in limbo with furniture as well. So we have a lot of work to do. And it's such a different feeling because usually at other posts, we would come in and automatically feel a lot more settled, which is
Mhm.
really great for me because I like that feeling of home immediately. But here it's going to take some time because we have to do a lot more for ourselves, which is totally fine. It just takes longer.
Yeah, so we have some people who joined. Your YouTube channel is at Jazzy Nation, so you can follow her there. And you've been in these different countries. How many
Mhm.
languages do you speak now?
Ooh, I would say I probably speak about four at the same very basic level, just to get by, just to be pleasant. I'm currently learning German now, which is great. It's actually quite exciting because I just want to be able to, again, be pleasant to people that, approach me or I have to approach them. If it's just taking my child on a walk, I want to be able to say just those basic phrases, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a nice day. Yes, the sun is out. I have run into struggles here, especially where, we came here with zero German language, and for other posts, we were typically able to take classes. We weren't able to take Spanish classes for Ecuador because of how fast that process was. So even with that, we had to learn on our own. But my husband and I took Spanish in college, so we had a bit of the language. But here we are just starting from zero, and the notion with a lot of countries where English is highly spoken, quote unquote, or for example, my husband's job, he's working with mostly Americans. Um, that you'll be told that you don't need to learn the language because it's not necessarily needed. But for me, I always find that it's at least needed on a basic level, even just for what I do. Again, just hanging out with my son, going to the parks, meeting new friends. Just breaking the ice, getting far enough to even say, I'm sorry, I don't speak much German, but it was nice to meet you. Just having that basic level is important to me.
Yeah. So, what about your son? Did he learn Spanish when you were in Ecuador?
A little bit.
Mhm.
He's a fresh 2.5 now, so he's working on speaking in general, but yeah, he learned as much as I had, if that made sense on a basic level. Like, just be careful, hi, hello, as I again, we would go to the park and I would conversate with people that I would meet or just to say hello or excuse me. He kind of picked up those small little words.
Mhm.
And they're definitely not something he has now, as he's just this active English speaker who's just been around us.
Okay, got it. So you speak the
Mhm.
English and he just picks that up.
Mhm. Yeah, he's like a little parrot. I feel like when he goes to school, and I hope it's to a German school, we usually have, options with an international school or maybe a military school or something on base, or something within the local neighborhood. I think for me, I would prefer something within the local neighborhood because I want him to learn German. I want him to be more part of the culture while we have the opportunity to be here, so that he can quickly build up his language skills for each place that we move to. I think that'll be cool.
Yeah. Did he go to school at all in Ecuador?
Mm-mm, no.
Yeah. So, yeah, so Germany would be the first time that he's of age to possibly go to school
Mhm.
and develop those
Yep,
language skills. So
exactly.
how does it work with healthcare while you're abroad? Is that covered also through the foreign service?
I mean, we have insurance. We have insurance through the Foreign Service. And so what we typically do, what we have done in other countries is if we need service, we'll go, for example, my husband just had a leg injury, so we were in the hospital for that. He was treated, they gave us a bill for everything, and then we submit that to our insurance, and then they will reimburse us for what they cover, and then we just pay the difference. So that's what we are thinking will happen with everything else here. So we don't have to necessarily work as closely locally with what that looks like. But because we're still new here, we're still not quite sure. So we'll have to see what that looks like.
Okay. My mom wants to know, how long do you typically spend in each location?
That's a good question. About 2 to 3 years.
Nice.
hmm
And do you know going in how long you're going to be at the location?
Yep. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So when he applies for a job, it's for a specific contracted time. And then that's also kind of what you're accepting when you accept the job, that you can fulfill the role within, from this time to this time.
So, how would you say your quality of life has improved as a result of moving to these different countries versus taking bids in the US? So, is that an option too? Like, are there bids in the US
Mhm.
that you could have taken? Mhm.
Yes. I would say yes at this level of his career. Now, those are options. Again, early on, the first couple of tours were directed, so he didn't have a choice as to if he could stay in the US or not. Um, but yeah, it's repeat the question one more time. I'm trying to
The
get my thoughts
quality of
straight.
life, like
Oh,
how
yes, the quality of life. Sorry, I was like, what was I talking about? Yes, so my quality of life, I would say it's a tricky one because it's good. Obviously, my quality of life is good, but at the same time, um, I, I miss home. I've been doing this for a really long time, and I would say there are pros and cons with this lifestyle. So, a con is being away from home and being away from family, being away from my mom. I'm very close to my mom, and yeah, I always say that if I could bring my family along with me, that would be the perfect balance.
Mhm.
But then in terms of the positives, I feel so much safer abroad, even in countries that are typically deemed not as safe. Um, I don't have the same anxieties that I have when I'm in the US. However, I have others. So, I'm slowly working through those things so that I can have a better quality of life while I'm doing this lifestyle. I think the transitions definitely affect me. It's just a lot of moving around. I think my quality of life would be probably extremely improved if we stayed in one place. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, um, given that we are usually again in a place for about 2 to 3 years, I start to get it together around 6 months to a year, and then we're here, year two, and then I'm like, all right, I found my groove, I found my routine, and and then we're looking at the next place. So then it's like,
Mhm.
oh man, it's good, it's exciting, and it's all fun stuff, but I don't know, sometimes I do crave that stability.
So my mom wants to know, was there ever a time where the bid was extended, I guess?
Um, no, oftentimes they're cut short, if
Oh.
anything, because, yeah, because if my husband, for example, bids for the next job and they want him sooner than later, or they're trying to fill gaps, they might actually ask him to come sooner than later. I think the opposite way is a little trickier because you have the next person coming into the position. So everybody is really working hard to keep the timelines pretty straight, and it's easier if you leave earlier, maybe a couple weeks to a month earlier than if you end up staying. So that hasn't happened to us yet.
Okay. And then how would you describe the culture in these various places that you've been? Like the culture in
Mhm.
Morocco, in India, in what part of India were you in?
Oh, Hyderabad, which is in the south.
Okay. Southern Indian culture, and then
Mhm.
Ecuador, and now Germany. Like, how would you describe
Oh, okay.
those cultures?
So far, still being fairly new here in Germany, um, what I can say is the culture here is just a little bit stricter.
Hmm.
Um, Very rule based. I don't want to, just throw out the stereotypes, but this is what I've experienced. More rule based. Things are more by the book here compared to other countries that I've lived in, and I actually like that. I again crave that stability, that routine, and structure. So I was excited for that before we arrived here, just thinking like, okay, things will just be like I will know what to expect. That is something that excited me about Germany, whereas for other people, that's definitely a turnoff. But I thought that that was really interesting because compared to Germany, other countries we've lived in have been less strict, very unpredictable at times. Um, I would say that I appreciated Ecuador for how warm people were.
Hmm.
Uh, I mentioned, we can just go to the park and I'm saying things to just people that are on the street. You see somebody and you say hello, or you greet folks that you just see. You might not know them, but it's just a nice thing to do. It's just a cultural thing to do. So I always appreciated that. Um, in India, um, I just had fun in India. I found that the culture was it's just a lot happening, so many people, just a lot going on, and I just really liked that. That was a time too when we didn't have children in Morocco or in India, so I felt free to really explore and just was really eager to navigate, riding in tuk-tuks and like, just going here and there. And um, I would say with Morocco, um, it had a similar feeling, but just we lived in Casablanca, so just on a smaller scale. And I really appreciated. I mean, I appreciated the people everywhere that I lived in. I've met some amazing people, um, but I would say that I had some amazing relationships with the people that I met in Morocco, and maybe because it was my first time living abroad, traveling abroad, and all of those things. But um, my husband and I feel like we just had really deep relationships with the people that we met in Morocco, with the locals that we met in Morocco. And I think they just impacted our lives in a different way. And culturally as well, Morocco and India, and it could just be because when you have a child, you just are doing a lot less. You're in your home a lot more. But with Morocco and India, we were out, I feel like, all the time. And Morocco in particular, we were experiencing all the holidays, and we were just here and there. And I loved the culture in Morocco and in India as well. But it's always just so hard to talk about because I feel like they were just such vastly different worlds, even though for me it feels like I was in these places just yesterday. But yeah, culturally, I think here too, as it warms up and I get to matriculate a little bit more around our little city, we're going to really start to see more of that culture. We visited a Christmas market um, not too long ago, and
Oh,
that was interesting. It was interesting because I would say in our neighborhood here, it's very quiet, and you don't really see tons of people out. And then we go to this Christmas market, and you're like, oh, this is where everybody is. Oh, okay, this is how Germans are partying in a way. Like this is what they like to do. So that was really cool just to see a glimpse into that culture. And now knowing too that they don't just have Christmas markets, they have markets throughout the year and festivals and different things throughout the year. So it's just a matter of getting up and going. And I'm excited. I'm really excited for that.
So my mom asked, does Germany have awesome Christmas market? Because I've seen and
Yes.
heard that Europe, they have these Christmas markets like in different countries. It's kind of just like a thing in Europe, these Christmas
Mhm.
markets where they sell food and wine. So did they have like hot wine?
Yes, the Glühwein. Yes.
That
That
is
is
like
that
my
is a
goal.
staple thing.
That is my goal. I have to get to Europe during Christmas time and
Yes.
drink some
Mhm.
hot wine.
Yes, you have to. You have to try to make it over here. Definitely. Um, yeah, we went to one and I'm already like, okay, next year I'm going to plan it out because I want to go to as many as possible. And what I didn't realize, we went to one in a city called Rothenburg, and that's about 2 hours away from where we are. I didn't realize that there are Christmas markets up the street,
Oh,
and after I posted my video, I had people telling me like, "Oh, you should have gone to this one and this one." I'm like, "That's up the street." Like I didn't know. I mean, of course, I appreciated the one that we went to, but I'm like, I could have gone to more.
yeah. So Germany, the food is heavily based on meat from what I remember and my research. It's like, sausages,
Sausage.
like meat based. So
Yes.
how is that? And beer, right? Like beer
Yeah.
and meat is like Germany.
Yeah. And I would say it's we've been here for 4 or so months, and it's again just been we've hit the ground running with looking for a house and all the things. So we have not been able to explore very much because once we were in exploration mode, it got cold. And
Okay.
so I have I had German food yet? I don't think I've had proper German food yet. And I
Yeah.
look forward to doing so. My husband has. And he says that, yeah, it's okay. But I think we have to, go to some more markets again and go to actual restaurants. They serve some German food on the base, but you want to like go out and be a part of it all to really experience what like the good food is here. But I'm a foodie and I'm already upset that I have yet to really eat here. Um, but I look forward to it.
Were you there in October for Oktoberfest?
We were, and I think we had it scheduled to go to one of the, I don't think it was a festival.
Yeah.
And I think we had a house showing. We ended up having to or like not buy the tickets or something happened where we were like, okay, we can't go. But we were really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay. Next year. Okay.
Hmm.
Oktoberfest, Christmas markets.
All
That's
of it.
exciting.
Hmm.
And then, like, are you excited for you're centrally located in Europe, so you can go to like Paris, London, all these different
Hmm.
places for like a weekend trip?
Yes. I'm so excited to travel. We're already talking about different places we want to visit. My husband, he's traveled in the region for work. So he wants to take us to some of the places he's visited, like Czech Republic. And then we're talking about um, Disney Paris already for our little one. I don't know if it's, again, he's a fresh 2.5-year-old, so I don't know if it's the right time, but we're just talking about what we want to do and where we want to go. And then Germany itself has some really great places. So I have been the person in the past to just, I will get to a place and be like, I want to go to all these other countries. And not having, I mean, I realize it, but I have to really appreciate more that I did travel to a place and
Yeah.
that place has amazing things to see as well. So I am looking forward to doing all of it. And we do have a trip coming up, a little road trip very soon to a little town. It's about 3 hours or so away. Um, so I'm excited for that. That'll be our first, I guess, our second trip, but that one will be a little bit bigger and it'll be over the weekend. So that'll be exciting. But yeah, I was listening to someone talk about how inexpensive plane tickets are in the region too. And that's
Mhm.
exciting. That's especially now that my child is not a lap child anymore and we have to also pay
Yeah.
for his ticket. I'm like, whatever we can do to get those tickets cheaper is a great goal.
Yeah, my daughter was looking into Paris because she has an
Ooh,
iPad and she uses voice technology to search. So she doesn't
wow.
spell. She doesn't know how to type, but she can click microphone, and so she can
Mhm.
search Paris. So she's doing her little research, and
I
she
love
found
that.
out that there's a Disneyland in Paris, and so now
Yep.
she wants to go. So you have to do a video if you go to
Yes.
Disney in Paris.
Definitely. Yes, we definitely will. I love that she's so curious already. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So has it been challenging to maintain friendships and family relationships from the US as you're moving to all of these places?
Yes and no. I would say that in the past that I would feel sad because of maybe the lack of communication I would have from friends or from family, um, and want to always, yell out like, "There's video chats. My phone still works. We can still talk."
Yeah.
Um, but I put it into perspective not too long ago, just realizing, I want to cherish the relationships that I do have and the people that I are willing to give to me as I would give to them in terms of their time and contact and things like that. Because when I was so focused on, oh, so and so doesn't call me anymore. I don't really have a good relationship with so and so anymore because I moved abroad and we just don't speak anymore. I would just be so sad. But now I'm like, okay, I have my few core people that I chat with, and that's enough. That's it's good enough for me, especially as I'm getting older and just needing different things in my life. I'm just really appreciating the people that I do have a relationship with from home.
Yeah. And how has it been meeting people locally? And then do you stay in touch with them as you travel abroad as well?
You know what? That's so interesting because that those are thoughts that I've also had where I, maybe have met friends in Morocco or India, and it is hard to keep up with people as you go from place to place. And it is hard to even, maintain those friendships while you're in those countries because they might see your stay there as temporary and maybe not worth investing time and effort into. And so that's hard. It's sad when you think about it like that. But then what I realize is, again, the people that care care, and those are the relationships that I want to continue to nourish and foster. Because when I worry about, so and so here and there, it's like, okay, I could be really sad. I do miss that friendship, but I do have people that will actively check in on me and I will actively check in on them too. And I appreciate that. I appreciate how reciprocal that is, because a lot of the times it would feel like I'm the one reaching out, and checking in and not really getting that back. And I realize, again, as I'm getting older, that I do need that, but I can't require that from everybody or expect that from everyone. Everybody's going through their own thing, and they're in their own seasons of life where um, friendship with me might not be their priority, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. And what I do realize too is there are those friends that you have who you don't actually have to be in contact with as frequently, because when you meet with them again in person, it's like you never left. And I appreciate those friendships too, because there's never any ill will or any weirdness about, hey, we're supposed to talk every week or every month. It's just like, hey, I'm going to be in your city and I'd love to see you. And it's like, okay, great, I'm excited to see you. So that's the way that I look at things now when it comes to friendships.
Do you have family come visit you or friends come visit you because you're in these desirable locations around the world?
Mhm. My mom and dad visited us in Morocco, and that was such a fun trip. They had a really great time. And then my mom came to visit us when we lived in Ecuador. She came to help with the baby when he was really little, and I really appreciated her for that. But other than my mom and my dad, no. And um, yeah, I mean, we're here. We're in these places, so it's our door is always open for family and friends that want to come visit.
So you wake up, it's Tuesday morning. what does your day look like?
Ooh, okay. Um, my ideal day would be I wake up early enough to get a workout in before my son wakes up. And then I wake up with him, and then we just spend some time together. And he's very hungry first thing in the morning, so I then make him breakfast. I actually like to cook. I cook a lot, but cooking breakfast, I like doing that for him just to make sure he gets a nice, nourishing breakfast. And then we just do some activities for the morning. And if we have an outing like today is not Tuesday, but like today, we went to the library and we walked around a little bit, and then we went to the gym and he got to play basketball. And, like if we have a day where we have things to do like that, that's always nice. But on a regular day, we might just go for a walk or go to the park. That's always nice as well. And then nap time for him is always when I try to get as much work done as I can to continue running my business, edit videos, things like that. So that's usually a good maybe 2.5 hours that I'll devote to that. And then he wakes up and we'll typically do some more activities. I say activities because I really try to um, I'm trying to prepare him for when he goes to school in terms of his, skills and development and things like that. So we're doing like school work in a way, but making it fun and doing little activities and experiments and things like that. So I try to like write down the things that we're doing the day before, so we have a plan, and that's always fun. I think he feels really special when I take the time to plan things for him. And so while he plays, I might finish up with some work as well if he has some free play, and then usually make some dinner. We eat and then put him down. And then after I put him down, it's usually around this time. So I will either get some work done, or I've been trying to implement more self care into my life because I need it. So I've been just trying to take care of myself a little bit better. And I try to get to bed by 10:30 if I'm good, if it's like a good day.
Yes. So my mom, she joined a little bit late. She wanted to know, what type of business do you have?
Yes, so I'm a content creator. I mentioned freelance work, contract work, and then I also have products on my website. I used to, and I don't know if I'm going to bring this back, but I used to do coaching and uh, had a language program as well that I don't know if I'm going to bring back or not for English, people that are interested in English language um, tutoring and things like that. So it just depends on how I'm feeling season to season and how much work I want to do.
So, what is a must-try dish in Ecuador since you were there?
Yeah. Ooh, a lot of really yummy. Oh my gosh, a lot of really yummy things. What comes to mind off the top of my head is ceviche. So delicious, so good, and so fresh, and just I don't know, it's just so good. And I also like a dish called plato típico, and it's just got all of this different stuff on the plate, a lot of variety. I think it's like hominy beans, some pork, vegetables. Sometimes you can get French fries with it as well. Um, yeah, I could probably talk about Ecuadorian food for a while. Lots of good stuff.
What time is it now in Germany? We have a question.
It is 8:09.
Yeah.
8:09 p.m., I should say. It's getting late.
So nice ceviche. I had a question. So I interviewed
Yes.
a couple and a couple of different people from like that region. So Mexico,
Mm,
but also Ecuador. And they say things like not everywhere has hot water. They say things like you can't
yeah,
always flush toilet paper just because the plumbing
it's
is so
true.
old. So how is your experience in that regard in Ecuador?
No, that's true. Very true. Um, I would say that, yeah, Sometimes it didn't always feel like um, Ecuador was as developed as it could be. But when you travel or move to a place like that, you kind of go in knowing these things. You're not going to have everything that maybe you would have in the US, but there are trade-offs, right? I would say more significantly during our time there, we had a lot of power outages, and more recently they were still having those. So that was annoying. It was very annoying because if you're working from home and things like that, your power would just get shut off. We were lucky that we had a generator in our building, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people didn't, and so it was rough. It was rough at times.
The power outages, are they scheduled or is it just completely random? You don't know when it's coming.
Some of them were, yeah, most of them became scheduled after they were not scheduled, after they were happening. And you're like, oh, okay. Then they started to schedule them and then unschedule them when there were holidays and things like that, because it was said that at certain times there wasn't enough rainwater. And so they wanted to conserve that energy. And so then when the weather would change and there was more rain, then the power would be better. So it really just depended on who you talked to, and I guess the reasonings behind what that actually was. But yeah.
So, what are some of the places where you could see yourself living next after Germany? I guess what are some of the places you hope would be open for a potential bid?
Ooh, I would not mind going back to Latin America. Um, Also some places in Africa, maybe Ghana. I know that everybody goes to Ghana, but I'd love to experience Ghana for myself. Maybe Kenya, South Africa. We were looking at South Africa as well, as a part of our list this time around, and it didn't work out. But where else? I mean, a lot of the places we have traveled to and we would love to go back and live, like Thailand. Bangkok, Thailand was fantastic. I enjoyed Malaysia. I would be interested to see what living there would be like versus traveling. Honestly, we're open to, obviously, you could tell, we're open to a lot of different places, and we never have a set region. When we moved to Ecuador, that was pretty high for me because I wanted to be closer to home. I wanted the flight to be closer, and also cheaper. And I realized, at least the way that I was booking flights and tickets and things, it was not the case. I felt like travel was still pretty expensive. It just reminded me of traveling within the US and those high ticket prices that you would find going from state to state. It felt like it was expensive still, and also it still took a long time to get home. And with layovers and different things like that, it was like, well, you know, what would it look like if we lived in Germany and had to travel? So we were like, let's just try it and see how we feel about the commute from here to there, and if that compares at all.
Okay. So I'm gonna put your channel up here again. Is at
Mm.
Jazzy Nation One, and people can find you there. And your journey
Yeah.
abroad, your 7 years abroad. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you for chatting with us
Of
and
course.
about your life here in Germany and Ecuador. And oh, sorry, that's my cousin.
You're fine.
Phone rings on my because I have it's connected, so I have a
Oh
Mac, so
yeah.
my iPhone
Mhm.
rings on multiple devices. So that my
Mhm.
um yes, thank you for talking to us, and we
Of
will be watching. I
course.
will be watching to see if you go to Disneyland in Paris,
Of
and
course.
to see just how life is there in Germany.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you for watching, and thank you for asking me to hang out with you today. I appreciate the time and getting to speak with you. I hope that we get to speak more and I get to learn a little bit more about you. And um, yeah, this was really nice.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.